Hi, Hudson. Thank you for joining me. You have an extensive background in crypto projects, so I'm really glad that you took the time out to speak with me today, and I'd love to learn a little bit more about you. So again, glad that you're here.
Thank you so much for having me. This is really exciting.
Yeah, it is for me too. There's so much you've worked on and done. So, before we get into your background of being in the USAA, Ethereum Foundation, the Ethereum Cat Herders, Zcash, Flashbots, and what were you doing before you even heard about cryptocurrencies? Before you even heard about Bitcoin?
Well, I guess I've always been, as a kid, like really interested in computers and
Hmm.
video games. Before I had friends, I would just be on computers joining online communities, like a lot
Yeah.
of people, and got into like RuneScape and a thing called Cartoon
Oh,
Orbit.
RuneScape was good.
I
I
was,
remember that.
yeah, RuneScape was awesome. Um, and after middle school and getting into high school, I joined all the computer classes I could in high school. None of them, there were programming classes, but like I grew up in Northeast Texas in the
Okay.
US, in a smallish town called Texarkana. So like the options weren't like super available for, computers and programming classes that were sufficient to like actually teach you. It was kind of like they just throw a book at you.
Good luck. Here it
So
is.
uh, yeah, but I did in high school play around with network security and got really interested in like hacking and network security and penetration testing and stuff like that. So I did like a high school like uh, advanced credit project for with war driving, where I put like a antenna on top of my car and plugged it into a laptop and drove around and mapped out the city's Wi-Fi and
Oh,
like
wow.
took statistics on how many were open networks versus secured by this protocol versus another
Yep.
protocol, and uh, did a whole report on that. And so that was a fun thing to do. And my whole idea before crypto was I was going to do network security penetration testing, that kind of stuff. And that's what I was training for before I fell into crypto.
Wow, it's pretty awesome. I can just imagine you driving around in a car with an antenna sticking out.
Yeah,
Now we have
yeah.
our cell phones that can just do that for us, which is pretty insane. Uh,
hmm
did you ever look into cryptography before that, or was cryptography just new to
It,
you when you heard about crypto?
cryptography definitely was interesting to me. Like I ran one of the earlier versions of Hashcat to like crack
Okay.
passwords and stuff. So I had to look into stuff for like, what does this mean? What are all these different, types of things you can, password crack, and why does it take longer for GPUs versus CPUs and stuff? And so um, that was kind of an, a way that I got involved in enjoying cryptography topics, but I never got deep into the math or
Mm.
anything. It was one of my favorite college classes. I had a computer science degree, and I did computer security, network security, and like cryptography, and um, it was enjoyable, and I learned a lot that I kind of carry over into understanding some crypto things today. But I never applied it viably for like work or
Gotcha. And
anything.
did you have like a job right out of college that you were working at before getting into crypto, or?
Yeah, yeah. So I discovered crypto, specifically Bitcoin, in
Hmm.
2011 while I was in college, and did some projects in college around mining and just kind of kept up with it. But my first job out of college was a bank and insurance company called USAA. Um, and that job was really cool because it was one of the better banks in the US to work for. They were really relaxed about like the needs of their employees, or not relaxed, but
Yeah.
like they supported employees basically. And at first, the first year I worked in the insurance department, doing mainframe development with like COBOL and stuff, and I sucked at it. I was never a great developer in the first place. I kind of just, I guess early on the plan was to get a computer science degree, or this was like kind of my plan plus mom's plan. Like we worked together on this, where it was like get a computer science degree so then you can manage
Yeah.
people
She knew what
later,
she was talking
and you
about.
don't have to. Yeah, yeah, definitely. So I basically annoyed my bosses at USAA about my cryptocurrency obsession and like stuff with smart contracts and blockchains enough that they moved me to the innovation department to lead their blockchain program in 2015.
Wow.
So. Yeah, that was pretty early for USAA. So while I was there, I worked on like proof of concept 6 of Ethereum. So this was, yeah, early 2015 or something like that. We did some internal hackathons where we made some smart contracts to do check representment, which basically means you would compare two checks using the Ethereum blockchain to see if they've been deposited at different banks uh, to prevent
Now, they're
fraud.
still using this today. Do you know if they are?
Oh, it was a hackathon project inside
Okay.
USAA. They never put it in
Ah,
production. There is a patent for it that I did get awarded,
nice.
like my name on it, but USA owns the
Of course. Yeah,
IP.
they
Yeah,
funded the whole thing.
yeah.
Uh,
Still
yeah,
kind
it's
of cool though.
awesome. I don't have any patents under my name, so that's pretty cool. And that's awesome how they actually were allowing you to innovate and go on with this, because so many companies just shut down the idea of blockchain or cryptocurrency immediately.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. It definitely has had its up and downs. Innovation used to be a big part of USAA. I've heard recently it's kind of waned, but yeah, they were very open, at least while I was there, to blockchain stuff and having me get involved in different initiatives to study the like different
Hmm.
consortiums. And like this was before we had Cosmos and before we had a lot of different things. There was just like Bitcoin, and then there was like one private blockchain, like consortium blockchain
Okay.
project that used Tendermint, and it was called Eris Industries. And they renamed themselves to something else later, but it's just really weird to think back to the. Oh, and Consensus was just starting out too, so like we had calls between like a USA executive, myself, and like Joe
Wow.
Lubin, like back in 2015, that did not go anywhere.
But it's still a good conversation to have, because now they're thinking about it. Oh, we could have done things so much more differently, but
Hmm.
everything is hindsight. So then you were
Yeah.
working at USAA, and then you moved into Ethereum Foundation because of your work there, and you got recognized for it.
Um. So the
Transition between.
Oh, yeah. Oh, here's what it is. So the during my time at USAA, I got really obsessed with Ethereum. Like the white paper really stuck out to me, and I got involved in the community, moderating the subreddit, and I saw that DevCon 1 in 2015 was happening, and so I scrounged some money together and flew overseas and to London and went to DevCon 1. And the first day I was there, I got there early, and I saw that there were not enough volunteers. There was just a lack of people being able to do stuff, and everyone was running around panicking. So I said, "How can I help?" And I got put in charge of helping with badges. I helped do some of the scheduling. I sold T-shirts. I was a timekeeper. I helped interact with AV and the convention, like the center, the building
Hmm.
staff, stuff like that. So basically, I was running around doing just whatever they needed me to do, and in that, I got recognized by the executive director at the Ethereum Foundation at the time, Ming Chan, who kept in touch with me and offered me a job a bit after I was there. Or I should say, I got offered the job like months after, but I had to wait a few more months
Yeah.
after that because of work. But I left in June of 2016 from the from USAA to join the Ethereum Foundation, initially to work on DevCon 2 and to do DevOps work were the two primary things. But while I was at the EF, I did like a bunch of different stuff.
Yeah. It's. I feel like that's a great way to, like, describe your startup story, is just jumping from different job to job, talking to people, networking, and I think it's pretty difficult to accomplish that now, because now you really have to show your credibility, your proof of work on like GitHub or whatnot. And it's awesome that you had the opportunity to actually scrounge up enough money to go to DEF CON. That's an awesome story.
Yeah, no, I mean, really interestingly enough, with Ethereum, especially in the early days, yeah, if you showed up and you contributed code to GitHub, if you contributed volunteering at conferences on managing Discords, or Discord wasn't it, so managing
Hmm.
Gitter or any of those kind of chat channels or Reddit, and being prolifically posting on Reddit or Twitter, you would get somewhere, and that still applies today to an extent. It's a little harder to navigate, but like we're so thirsty for talent in the like crypto space within the jobs that we are like the jobs and startups and projects that we have that like if you show initiative and have any kind of relevant experience, or even if you don't but you're willing to learn and you like put your time into like getting certifications that might be relevant from like
Hmm.
Coursera, then you get somewhere. Like it does happen. It's just I guess I would agree with you though, it is more difficult to do just because we're larger, so it's hard to know where to start and who to talk to.
Definitely. And I definitely had a like an experience like that myself back in 2017, just being super active in the Ethereum subreddit. And I think they started their own Telegram channel or chat. And I was
Hmm.
super active in there, and then also made a bunch of friends and stay connected. That's what kind of helped me network in the cryptocurrency industry, and I'm still using that today. So yeah, for anyone listening, it's always just stay active and contribute quality material.
Absolutely, absolutely. It's and Ethereum's super unique in that even though we've grown, it still feels
Hmm.
small to a lot of people. And there's a lot of now sub communities that are very welcoming. So yeah, it's a good deal all around.
Yeah.
Yeah, early Ethereum was different because like we all like were very like wide-eyed and idealistic, and a lot of us still are, but like there's been so many events that some of the like I guess veterans or like old timers for Ethereum are kind of battered and beaten now to the realities of like SEC
That's
enforcement
tough.
and major hacking incidents and people losing a lot of money and crying to them and
Getting
stuff like
scammed, and
that.
it's not our fault.
Yeah,
We're trying to help, but we
yeah,
can't. Yeah, that's the thing about crypto too, is you really own your own money. It's yours. No one else can
hmm
help you bring it back. It's yours. So your responsibility. Um, yeah, that's awesome. And then so you're in the Ethereum Foundation. You're working there. You're What's your next step? What's your next move? Are you hungry for more? Are you just looking for opportunities?
yeah. So in 2016 I joined the Ethereum Foundation. DevCon 2 was in Shanghai, and that was successful. Me and my spouse Lilith worked DevCon 2 and did a lot of things to help run it. Um, During that time, also I was kind of put to be responsible for revamping the EIPs, Ethereum Improvement
Hmm.
Proposals, because they weren't very active at the time, and the EIP one had been stagnant. So I rewrote EIP one in 2016, 2017, like maybe early 2017, and got some more editors together. I also started up or restarted, however, rather, the all core dev calls, which are the every 2 weeks there's a Zoom call with like all the Ethereum core developers from different client projects and stuff like that. And we figure out if there's, when there's security vulnerabilities, we talk about it. We talk about what's going to be going into hard forks, how to do network
Yeah.
improvements and things like that. I ran that until April of this year. And then Tim Byko took over. So that was kind of another thing I picked up while I was at the EF. And then our communications lead, George Hallam, left sometime around 2017. So I took on their role as the communications lead for a year. And then through other circumstances, I became this org security lead. So kind of like the person who makes policy
Yep.
decisions for security in response to internal hacking incidents. I did that for a few years, so I got experience there. Oh, in the middle of all of that, I almost forgot. I did a startup with some friends called Oaken
Okay.
Innovations, which is an IoT and blockchain startup where we kind of got our start by doing hackathons, including hacking a Tesla to make it pay for itself when it goes through a toll road using Ethereum. And we won a Dubai like worldwide hackathon for like $100,000, and that was our startup money.
Wow. And now, so that's awesome. Like, so you guys and your team hacked the Tesla. How did that even work? How'd you?
Yeah, so I say hack a Tesla because that's kind of like the
Yeah.
line to go with, but like in reality, we use the ODD port or
Yep.
OBD
OBD.
port, which is basically, yeah, it's like under the steering wheel usually, and it'll give you data from what the car's doing at that current time, like where it's going, how fast it's going, if it's turning,
Hmm.
yada yada, and we're translating that data into and attaching GPS data to it in order to figure out where it is on the road and if it's going through a tollway. And then we also have the receiver. What's it called? We had like a little
Transponder.
like fake toll road, yeah, like transponder in the middle of the window, and it would indicate when it went through the toll road. We could combine that with the car's data from the port, and then pay for it on Ethereum without going
Gotcha.
through a bunch of different silos. That's the thing I wish I would see more of. Is like I want startups to use Ethereum to be the middle person disintermediator more, like to be something that breaks down these business silos that have been like whenever you pay for a toll
Hmm.
right now, you have your credit card attached to some page for your toll road, and then they go through like probably 6 different systems, some of them probably as old as the 1970s, in order to process the payment and process the information about where you are on the tollway versus when you get off the tollway. And that goes through like old school IBM systems and all this other
Yeah.
crap. And it's like, take all that away, have one smart contract that is also the payment rails, and think of how much simpler that is. But like, and that's what people used to look at Ethereum. Now I sound like a rambling old man. That's what they used to think. No,
Back like
that's
three
what
years
people used
ago.
to think about Ethereum and stuff. Yeah, like 4 years ago. But now it's kind of changed to like, it's still still kind of an idea, but like it's not the
Yeah, and that's
focus.
like always a battle too. Is you always hear people saying, "Does it need a blockchain? Does it need to be on Ethereum? Does it just need a
Yeah.
basic database?" So it's always that: is it worth it or not? And it's always like plus anything with like tolls and government regulations tough to crack into.
Yeah. So I did Oaken Innovations while working at USAA, and that was a mistake because that's a lot of
Yeah.
work, and I got burned out. So I quit Oaken Innovations after a year, but then I helped them a little bit after that, but like not unofficially. And I went back full time to Ethereum Foundation. And when I went back to the Ethereum Foundation, um, there was a transition from the old executive director Ming Chan to the new one Aya Miyaguchi, and so I did some help in facilitating parts of that, and getting Aya onboarded,
Hmm.
and yeah, I think after that I kind of kept working with DevOps. I did some community initiatives. I co-founded the Ethereum Cat Herders in 2019, like January 2019, with a few people, and that's been very successful. They're basically an educational and coordination organization within Ethereum that does note taking at meetings and also releases YouTube videos with
Is
educational
this
stuff.
an automated software you develop with your team, or is it's like team members who help with project management?
Oh, it's team members who help with project management, like a DAO, but we're not really
Hmm.
DAOified yet. It's just people helping with project management and kind of becoming experts at Ethereum. It's a good way to onboard yourself to Ethereum, because if you're a note taker for the core developer or ETH2 meetings, then you learn a lot
Yeah,
really
I'm
quickly.
sure.
Yeah, so like, and we publish those notes to the a GitHub repo, so everyone can see them and correct them if they need to and stuff like that.
Man, you're going so many different places in the industry. It's pretty amazing how quick you transition. And then you're still doing all this, and then you have time to be also part of the Zcash Open major grants.
Oh yeah, so just for timeline's sake, so I guess I did. I think it was between 2007 and 2008 is when I did Oaken Innovations. I was still at the EF, and then Cat Herders was January 2019, and then I got involved in the Zcash. I've not been officially involved in the
Mhm.
Zcash community, but like I've been adjacent to them since at least 2015, no, 2016, because like that's when I met I think Zuko and a few other of the Zcash scientists who were developing an early iteration of Zcash on Ethereum. I think this was, you know, like a little bit after the
Okay.
DAO. It was called Baby Zoe, and it was a way to put Zcash on Ethereum, but like there would need to be a lot of updates with low-level precompiles in the client code that weren't there. But so it was a proof of concept. But all that to say, from there I went to ZCon Zero, which was like the first Zcash conference. Um, I think that was a year or two later. And so I got to know more of their team, and I spoke there on how Ethereum and Zcash are kind of cooperative, and really like I feel like of all the other blockchain projects, Zcash is the most friendly to Ethereum, and like we're kind of like besties. Zcash and Ethereum are besties, so we have a lot of back and forth. We share technology. We've done partnerships with them within the EF. So then in 2020, I ran for the Zcash Open Major Grants Committee,
Okay.
which was an election that the community voted on for who would decide where grant funding goes. Oh, and this is important. The grant funding comes from a block reward subsidy in
Oh,
Zcash.
wow.
So the Zcash block reward used to have part of the block reward go to founders, and then that expired after like I think 2 years. So then it was like, well, what do we do with that part? Do we give it back to miners, or do we do like block reward funding? And so they decided on block reward funding, where a portion of it goes to the Electric Coin Company, the for-profit Zcash company, Zcash Foundation, the nonprofit, and then ZOMG, which is technically under the Zcash Foundation, but independent entity in that it makes its own decisions.
Oof, that's a long hierarchy of.
Yeah. So, anyways,
Yeah.
each of those have a different block reward, and our block reward is in the millions by now, like accumulated, and we've given out millions. But it's a 5-person committee. I'm running for re-election right now for that, and that's going
And that's
pretty
all
well.
voted on under the Zcash blockchain.
The election
Oh,
isn't actually, none of the voting happens
oh,
there.
okay.
No, the Zcash blockchain is pretty simple compared to Ethereum in that it's a UTXO blockchain like Bitcoin. It's a fork of
Hmm.
Bitcoin, so they don't have like DAOs or voting mechanisms that are advanced. They have very very simple smart
Okay.
contracts.
Gotcha. Wow. So now you're here and now you're still working for or still part of Ethereum Cat Herders, and you've also recently moved to Flashbots and helping in their community.
Yes. I left the Ethereum Foundation in April. 5 years was a long time to work in crypto anywhere
Yeah.
for continuously for me at least. So I left, and then I took some months off. I had a stint in a mental hospital. I voluntarily put myself in for the month of July.
Wow.
That
Well,
was
can
exciting.
I ask more about that?
Yeah. I'm very open about my mental health, and happy to talk about it.
Yeah. I guess why did you? Was it just too much going on in your life with work, and you had to take a break, or is it
Um,
more?
Yeah, so I guess why I went, I had also been voluntarily entered one the year before in 2020. Yeah, 2020. And both times it was because like my mental health problems had gotten to a peak where I felt it was best that I was in a safe place where I could be evaluated. And my mental health problems consist of um, OCD, ADHD, primarily inattentive, because they have like new designations now for ADHD.
Okay.
Um, and then there's also bipolar type 2. Um, and I think I might be missing one. Yeah, anxiety. So basically, I have this mix of stuff, and I'm on medicine
Mhm.
for it. And the medicine sometimes doesn't work, or like, not like sometimes doesn't work, but after a while it'll wear off.
Yeah, you get used to it.
So like I was, yeah. So like my body gets used to it and stuff. So I was taking a variety of medicines, and um, I came to a point where things were overwhelming. I wasn't getting out of bed. A lot of my symptoms revolve around suicidal
Okay.
ideation. So, not actually having like going and committing suicide or trying to or anything like that. It's just like obsessive intrusive thoughts. So, the thoughts that you don't want to have, but they're just going to happen
Okay.
anyway. So, yeah, so basically they were just happening and happening, laying there for like 4 6 hours, not being able to stop thinking about it. I was like, gonna put myself somewhere
Yeah.
safe, gonna put myself somewhere where I can get evaluated. And so I went to a very, very good clinic. So the first time, and I guess in 2020 this happened, I went to a place that wasn't as good. It was still the best one in my
Okay.
area, but it was like an actual psych hold.
Yeah. Yeah.
uh, yeah, this one I went to recently in July was called Menninger Clinic in Houston, Texas, and it was a 3 week stay and had a lot of great amenities and excellent food. Everyone was nice. I had a doctor and psychiatrist and therapist like designated to me, like assigned to me,
Hmm.
I guess. to evaluate me, and we did like genetic testing and all kinds of neuropsych testing to figure out where my root issues were and what medicines I should be on. So that was a
Yeah.
lot of
Well, I'm
fun.
glad they looked into their root issues too, instead of just trying to put drugs on you. Like, hey, Garrett, go on with your day. Like, it's good that they're actually trying to help the mental health. And it's good that you went on yourself too. It's amazing. So, congratulations on that.
Oh, thanks. Yeah, I recommend everybody do research before you go. I didn't do as much research in 2020, and I ended up having to pay a large ambulance bill. Like when I got to a place, they didn't have room, and they had to bring me to another
Oh
facility.
wow,
And then also, I didn't realize certain facilities, once you enter, you can't leave till they say so.
that's scary. Yeah,
So
especially if you're putting yourself
yeah,
in.
so that's yeah, exactly. So it just really varies place to place. But if anyone who's listening has any questions on this, my Twitter DMs are open. Like I'm an open book, and you can ask me questions about this or about Menninger Clinic or anything.
Amazing. And yeah, if anyone is looking into that, please take that offer up.
Yeah. Oh, I went to Flashbots in September. That's where I
Yes.
was getting at. So after I left there, I joined Flashbots in September, and I've been there for about a yeah, almost month and a half, I
Hmm.
guess.
Yeah, I remember you posted on Twitter saying that you're joining Flashbot, so I looked more into it too, and it's pretty. It feels like it's like going so unnoticed, and it's kind of a big deal what they're doing. It's like, am I the
Yeah.
only one, or is it something that I'm not seeing it the way I'm supposed to be seeing it? Like, I'd love to hear more about
The
it.
reason it's going unnoticed is because it's a very low level protocol level concept that's like very technical. So yeah, MEV, just I guess for the listeners who don't know, what Flashbots does is they do research and development for democratizing and minimizing MEV, which is major extractable value. And what that means is um, when you submit a transaction, it goes to the miners and they put it in blocks, and the blocks go on the blockchain. When you submit that transaction, before it goes to the miners, it goes into what's called a transaction pool. And they line up all the transactions, and then whichever miner is elected to create the next block, they get to pick and choose transactions based on your transaction fee. So like they might pick a transaction fee that's higher than someone else's. However, major extractable value is any value that can be extracted by the miner that may or may not be seen. And what I mean by that is maybe the miner sees a transaction that hasn't hit the chain yet, that someone is attempting to buy a coin for 1 coin of Hudson token for $50 on Uniswap. So then the miner will rearrange the transaction and or submit their own transaction ahead that says, "Oh, I'm going to undercut them, cause the price to go up on Uniswap, and then reap the rewards in that same
Wow.
block." So that's like kind of front running, and then there's multiple kinds of MEV, but like front running is one of them where you kind of go ahead of someone trading and then bump the price up to reap the arbitrage opportunity there. There's many others, and before what it was is if you were a large mining pool with the resources to hire a developer for Geth or a client that could do MEV extraction, they would just do it and no one was tracking it, and only the big mining pools could do it because they had the software necessary and the money to hire the software developers. So these little mining pools were maybe getting more transaction fees, but this invisible arbitrage money, like this dark forest people call it, was going undetected, and they were making a ton of money. So now what Flashbots did was they said, well, this is a problem that we can't solve right now at the protocol level. There's not a way to solve it at the protocol level that we know of, and it'll take years of research. So instead, let's make it visible to everybody. So you can use Flashbot software to go in and submit what's called bundles, which are like arbitrage opportunities and other things to miners, and get rewards for the miners using your opportunities. It's all transparent. Anyone can become a searcher. The majority of mining pools on the network use
Hmm.
Flashbots, and because of that, we've been able to run a lot of good data. We have data products that take in statistics on this stuff, and it's incredibly interesting to see the proliferation of it, and also to see the strategies some smart contracts and projects are using to avoid this. So there's stuff you can do at the smart contract level. Flashbots also released an API or an RPC interface, and what that means is you can go into MetaMask And you know how you can change from like mainnet to
Yep.
Ropsten or whatever? You can change it to Flashbots RPC. And what that is that's a direct line to a miner. You kind of bypass the mempool in a way, and you don't get front runner MEV extracted.
Wow. And so I guess it sounds like it could or was a problem, but I mean, I heard that Ethereum 2 isn't going to necessarily fix this MEF issue where people can extract those values. So is this going to just be something that we're going to have to live with and hope that it becomes commonly used and kind of like the entire network is just kind of dispersed using flashbots to kind of even the playing field?
Yes, there are for ETH2. I'm not as intimately familiar with the research, but there are some good ETH research forum threads, and also the Flashbots Discord might have some discussion about this. Basically, there are multiple ways you can set up the client and proposer, like block proposer separation within ETH2 to make it more or less viable for Flashbots to work democratically. Um, I don't know. Yeah, I don't know all the details. I know that like during the recent trip that the Ethereum core developers had, MEV did come up, and Flashbots. We had Flashbots people, a Flashbots person
Hmm.
there to kind of direct the discussion towards solutions. And so I think that it may not be in the first iteration of the merge, but that is being kept in mind for sure. Like it's not top priority, but it's being kept in mind so that we have the most fair, most equitable solution to something that is really hard to fix.
Yeah, it sounds it sounds like it. And I guess what motivated you to join Flashbots? What was the factors? Just doing a social good, helping out the community.
Yeah, so when I was thinking about what I wanted to do, I thought to myself, I don't want to be on a DeFi or NFT project probably because I'm pretty anti. I don't like the greed in blockchain, and that's not to say every NFT and block and DeFi project is greedy, but like it's very hyper
Yeah.
capitalistic, which I don't really jive with, and like, yeah, I want to do something that's like solving a really important problem, um, and also working with a team of really nice people who I get along with. Those were kind of my big things. Another factor that helped a lot was like a team that has diversity is an important trait, and when hiring or when building out their team and community and keeping that in mind. And I felt like Flashbots had all three of those: important problem, awesome people, diversity, interest.
That's awesome. Yeah, and I'm part of the Flashbots Discord channel, so I'm definitely just trying to learn as much as I can. But yeah, it's super super technical, and I'm like, ah man,
Yeah,
I got a lot to learn because I'm definitely understanding it at a high level view, but when you get into the code, it's like something else. But it's a lot of fun. I'm glad to actually learn something that's going on in the protocol level versus just the trading level.
yeah, yeah,
You have all this going on. Like, what do you do for fun then? So, what do you, how do you
yeah.
spend your time?
So, I live in Texas right now with my spouse and three
Nice.
cats, and we like to um, watch different shows. I like to hang out with friends, go to bars. What as far as like hobbies, I'm trying to find more hobbies. Something that we've that my spouse, and my therapist have evaluated is that Hudson, you've been doing blockchain for so long, you don't have hobbies. You just have blockchain. You're just on Discord all the time and Twitter. And I'm like, you're right. You're calling me out. You're right. So I do have a a few things that I want to pick back up on is VHS to digital conversion. So like VHS
Hmm.
tapes. I have like professional tape decks and like time-based correctors and stuff like that, and software and like a really good computer to take my old home movies and other tapes and convert them into like YouTube files and
Yeah.
files for YouTube and stuff. Also, there's something called Lost Media Wiki, which is where people collect lost media, meaning like maybe it aired once on TV and you can't buy it now, so it was never
Oh
seen
wow.
again. So like I was gonna dig through boxes of old VHS tapes that I find at garage sales and stuff and look for like maybe taped recordings of stuff that happened on TV but were never found. And then people contribute to that wiki. So I'm like, oh, I have the equipment for that. And so um, I like to travel to. Um,
Yeah.
yeah, but other than that, oh, I guess I play Overwatch. So yeah, that's
You
fun.
know, Overwatch guy? That's pretty good. I
Yeah,
haven't. I've played that once, but wasn't too into it. I'm definitely more of like a single player RPG type game because I'm just like, give me the story. I want
yeah.
to hear it and I want to actually beat it because sometimes I spend too much time on video games. So like I have to stop.
I also have a podcast called Tabletop
Okay.
Squadron that I do with my spouse and two friends. It's a Star Wars Edge of the Empire role playing game podcast where I play a Wookiee. So basically, my friend Nick GMs it, is the game master, and they build the story, and then we participate in kind of an improv like way. And it's like and we have it as a podcast, and we've been doing it for like three and a
Oh, that's
half
cool. So you
years.
play the game kind of live and just, well, record it.
Yeah. So it's like it's Dungeons and Dragons, but Star
Okay.
Wars.
And that's a beautiful thing about the game, right? You can kind of just make whatever type of theme and scenario you want.
Yeah, and I mean it's not the same company as Dragons and Dungeons and Dragons, but like it's similar in that you're improving and stuff like
Hmm.
that. So yeah, no, that's pretty good right now. But the new season of Bob's Burgers is on, and also What We Do in the Shadows. Those are both two excellent shows. Have you
I've
watched them?
watched a few episodes of Bob's, and I have not watched Into the Shadows yet.
What We Do in the Shadows is awesome. You might watch the movie
Yeah,
and then watch the show
I knew the
probably
movie,
because
but
it's
okay,
yeah.
worth it. Right now I was actually watching Vikings the first time, so I was getting into
Oh,
that.
I think my spouse Lilith watched that, and was there like just like a lot of gay characters, or am I thinking of the pirate
I
show?
think you're thinking of the pirate show. I mean,
Oh, okay, there's
yeah,
a
there
different
wasn't
show.
any gay characters there, maybe one or two, but
Okay, I'm thinking of this. Someone in the comments of your podcast is gonna be like, I know the show he's talking about. It's that pirate show. Yeah, like I need to
someone
find the
clarify
name,
it for
but
us, please. Yeah, we need to know now. Wow, you're spending all this time in crypto and like you have all these great hobbies, but like what? And for me, it's always like I like to ask everybody, what is your crypto pet peeve? What kind of like drives you nuts in the industry that you wish would just change?
oh yeah. So hmm, a crypto pet peeve. So there's a few things. One of them is that I feel like there is a lack of understanding around, or I'll put it this way. I'm getting really annoyed lately at Bitcoin
Hmm.
maximalists who have a lack of understanding about the mechanisms and the governance and like how decisions are made around other coins. There's like the assumptions that like Vitalik makes all the decisions and that we're centralized and
I've heard that
stuff like that. And also
pre-mined
like
everything.
the most recent the most recent one, the pre-mine. The most recent one I heard was um, that, and this is from Pete Rizzo, who's a friend of mine, and I need to talk to him more about this, but like he's now kind of pushing this narrative that Bitcoin will never hard fork again. And because of that, it has a distinct advantage over other coins because in Bitcoin, even if you disagree with the upgrades that are happening, they're all soft forks, so you don't lose your coins. Whereas if you are in Ethereum, you are coerced to upgrade or else you lose access to your coins. And I'm like, I can see the mental gymnastics you did there, but it's not the same. Like if you're not going to innovate or allow for hard forks, I mean, Bitcoin wasn't immaculately conceived. They've had a ton of hard
Yeah,
forks.
even early on they've had it.
So
And I remember being through
yeah,
them.
and
Like it's pretty common.
yeah,
Uh,
yeah, and it's like they might have more stringent like ways to measure community sentiment about it and stuff, but like to say that like they won't hard fork again, like Bitcoin's great as it is, it won't need a correction when there's like quantum crypto coming and stuff like that is
yeah,
silly.
and I'm definitely like I love Bitcoin, I love Ethereum, I love them both. I think they're each great for their individual reasons, but like I don't see one coin ever ruling them all. I don't think that's going to, it's just not our
Yeah,
human nature. Not that it can't happen, but humans like to compete. They like to try different things and experiment. It's just bound to happen.
I'm definitely a multi-coin future kind of guy. Like I my like like much in the future vision is going to be something like everybody, and this is going to sound silly and like technically not a blockchain, but like I think it'll morph into this. I think everyone will have their own blockchain on their phone, that they will have a consensus mechanism we haven't dreamed of yet, that will let you have only your friends be a part of it, but can share data from a main public chain electively.
I'm excited for this one.
Yeah, like, and it sounds there's a lot of holes in what I just said, but I guess I'm just trying. I'm kind of thinking like, as we have multi chains and stuff like Cosmos coming up that like allow for cross chain swapping of assets and not in knowledge and information, and also like solving some composability problems, it'll be a no-brainer to have these kind of bring back the concept of consortium chains, where you have a subset of people who may not need the same security requirements as the main chain, use a sub chain that is a little less strict.
That's gonna be. I mean, I think it's like you talk like that, it's like as if it's going to be a long time before it happens, but it just might not be. Things are moving so freaking fast nowadays. It's hard to.
Yeah,
and
that's true.
Especially with like different blockchains like Helium Network, where they're really trying to get people to run a node at home easily and like kind of like have proof of coverage, where hopefully one day we won't even need to rely on ISPs anymore. We kind of just run our own internet or intranet.
Yeah.
I don't know how that's going to work, but that's exciting for me. I think because most of like the arguments now, it's that, crypto's taking too much energy. Okay, we're going to proof of stake. Okay, but what happens if the internet and power go down? Then yeah, or you don't have anything, but there's bigger problems to worry about if we don't have internet and power than money.
Yeah. Absolutely. Yeah, if the power goes, it's like, I want Bitcoin for when the world collapses. I'm like, so what, are you going to access the satellite somehow?
What are you going to do? Yeah, it's exciting, but we'll see how that goes on. One of my last questions for you is, what made you smile the most recently? What just gave you a ear-to-ear smile? Anything. Doesn't even have to be crypto.
I have a couple answers probably. One of them is seeing my cat be really cute. We like petting our cat, and that's always a good time. And I was on a Twitter Spaces last night, and some people joined, and one of them was from a Discord group I joined recently called Web3 Baddies. And let me pull up what was said. So basically, yeah, it's the hot girl metaverse is what they call themselves. It's a place for girlies, gays, non-binaries, and baddies in Web3. Okay. So basically, it's like a place for underrepresented groups in crypto to kind of like collaborate, learn, meme around, stuff like that. And I joined that, and it's really fun in there. Everyone's really nice. And so a few of them joined the spaces, and one of them asked me, why did you join Web3 Baddies? And I was just like, well, I'm bisexual as fuck, and y'all seem really nice and open to including me. And so now I'm quoted on the Discord as saying, I'm bisexual as fuck.
Put a meme of you.
Yeah, there's a meme.
That's funny.
Yeah.
That's good. At least they're nice about it.
Yeah. So like, it actually, like, weirdly enough, coming out, because like I was kind of worried about coming out a couple of years ago in crypto, because like people can be jerks. Everyone was pretty supportive, besides some people with frog icons who weren't real people, like Anons. And even then, like, it didn't bother me that much. Yeah. Like, it wasn't that thing. I think diversity is important, and like people are always like, well, why aren't there any black people? I'm like, well, you have to kind of lift up their voices and their content and stuff like that. Same thing with like any other diverse group, or like, why are there no women in crypto, or any of that stuff, LGBTQ, and you just have to like put out there like, I support this. I think diversity is important, and put actions to your words.
That's amazing that you're doing that and pushing that forward, because I also see a lack of that too. And it's not because that doesn't exist. It's just that we have to look for it. We have to actually keep our eyes open, not just follow the top 10 crypto influencers. There's plenty of more people contributing It's a lot of like awesome information. So
Yeah, and the other thing, this is something I came to realize after a few years in crypto, the lack of speaking up for diversity in crypto, I don't believe is primarily ill intent. And the reason I say that is because many people in crypto are
mhm.
libertarians. And when I talk to them about it or when I hear what they have to say about it, they say, I don't care what you do. I don't care if you're gay. I don't care if you're black. I don't care if whatever. You can be in crypto. And it's like, that's great if you're that welcoming. But if you're not also taking into account the fact, how much oppression that those groups have had in recent times, then being in this middle ground of like, I'm not outwardly say support, I'm not outwardly supporting what you're doing, but I'm not supporting it. It's kind of like this weird middle ground where it's like a lack of care, but it's not
Mhm.
malicious. It's a weird thing. It's like in order to satisfy the libertarian ethos,
But
they have to they're not going to support you if it's not in their interest, but they're not going to not support you either. It's weird.
yeah, I think it's yeah, I guess it's just an easy way to say, hey, do what you want. I don't care, but I just don't want to deal with it, type of thing.
Kind of that for some people. Others, it's like they don't realize that there's oppression. They're
Mm.
just like, well, I've never seen it, but I'm like the number of people where we were talking about sexual assault. The sexual assault came up on Twitter or something, and people were like, "Well, I've been to many crypto conferences and I've never seen it." I'm like, "Well, yeah, you're a white dude. Like, you, of course you haven't seen it because you're not a target. And the reason you haven't heard probably is because you aren't following people who have talked about that, or if you are friends with people who have been assaulted for one reason or another, they haven't told you because they don't feel that your personality or ethos is trustworthy enough to have that information and have a good response to it, I
Hmm.
guess. Like a ton of people have told me all kinds of awful shit from crypto conferences, and no one like believes. And they're like, no one's going to believe me, and I'm like, you're probably
Oh
right,
man, it sucks.
because yeah, it's messed up. But there's some stuff happening to help with that, and I think I've heard of some stuff behind the scenes where there's going to maybe be like code of conduct at crypto conferences eventually, and yeah, that's just something I'm kind of passionate about. Where I'm just like, what?
Yeah, enough is enough, right? It's like, come on.
Yeah.
That's
But yeah, otherwise, other than that, I'm feeling really, really excited about the future of Ethereum, in particular, especially after the core developer thing that just
mhm.
happened. I kind of have always hung around the protocol level stuff. So beyond the dApps and use cases and kind of mind share that's coming into crypto and all the devs we're stealing from Google and Facebook, um,
Ex-Google
we
developer.
have,
Yeah.
yeah.
No,
Oh,
I'm
really?
not, but
Oh! I thought I was
no,
like,
no.
you are okay. So yeah, other than all that, the protocol level stuff's also like it's hard to see because like if you don't, it's kind of boring sometimes, but it's incredibly exciting, and everyone should be really really excited for the merge coming up
Oh
next
yeah,
year.
I'm definitely excited for that. I think it's going to be like a huge. From what it looks like, it seems like the Ethereum team is really taking their time with it, which is what's most important. Working out all the kinks and bugs.
Hmm.
So I'm excited for them. I think it's gonna go smoothly. And yeah, I mean, I'm also excited for what you're doing, what you're working on. Definitely will continue to follow you and cheer you on as you go on.
Thanks. This has been one of the better podcasts I've recorded on. And for anyone listening whose podcast I've been on where I've also said that, that was true for you too. Basically, my outline is if a podcast lets you kind of like talk about who you are as a person and they're chill, like I love it. So this is a
And
great
it's what wholesome
podcast.
crypto is about. Thank you so much, Hudson. I appreciate your time.
No problem. Thank you so
See you,
much.
everyone.